Hello, fellow Italian language students. Welcome back to a new Italian language lesson. Today's lesson is about the second part on how to talk about time. Basically, how to give time connotation of the actions you describe through your speeches. In the previous lesson, part 1, I told you about complemento di tempo determinato, because that kind of complement sets the actions we are talking about in a specific point of the timeline. But what happens in Italian language when an action is protracted through a long period of time? Well, in this case scenario, we can use complemento di tempo continuato. Means that I'm describing an action that lasts for a long period of time. Complemento di tempo continuato can be often introduced by prepositions or can be present in sentences without any prepositions. In the first case scenario, prepositions that often introduce complemento di tempo continuato are per, in, da. Per, it is a preposition that can be used anytime in English language we would use for. Per follows an action that lasts for a certain period of time. Clint ballò per tutta la notte. Clint danced all night long. Per introduces complemento di tempo continuato because all night long is quite a long period of time. If per, for, is the most obvious solution to introduce tempo continuato, however, also preposition in can come in handy. Noi finimmo il lavoro in poche ore. We finished the job in few hours. In introduces the complement. In poche ore. So we give connotation of how much the action of working has lasted. Da, it is a little bit trickier to use. It is not often used to introduce complemento di tempo continuato because da often in Italian introduce many other complements as we saw in past lessons. However, can be used in this case scenario to give a connotation of how much the action lasted, or lasts, or will last. Loro in quel bar non ci vanno da tempo. They haven't been to that bar in a long time. Loro, they is the subject. To be, the verb, were in the bar, so complemento di destinazione, stato in luogo. Da tempo describes how much the action of not being there has lasted so far. Often, durante introduce complemento di tempo continuato. In fact, if you've noticed, yes, because you're genius speakers, in the previous episode about tempo determinato, I used a particular example. Io mangio durante l'intervallo. I eat during the break. Durante can introduce both complemento di tempo definito and continuato. The difference is very subtle and tricky. Often, when that action lasts for a brief moment of time, like the time for a break, we can define that complement as definito, definitive. But of course, when that action lasts much longer, we cannot more consider that tempo definito, but we must switch into tempo continuato. The rules are the same, it is just a different mental process. Tu dormisti durante la lezione. You slept during the lesson. The action of sleeping for a lesson that on average lasts 1 hour, for instance, it is considered a much wider time window. That's why, in this case scenario, we are using complemento di tempo continuato. Also, the locution fino a introduces complemento di tempo continuato. Stasera studio fino alle 9. This evening I study until 9. I brought here this example because here you can see the combined action of complemento di tempo determinato and continuato. In fact, the first part of the sentence, the first word is stasera, this evening. That settles the action in specific points of the timeline. So I use complemento di tempo determinato. However, the action that starts in specific points lasts until 9. The second part of the sentence, in fact, foresees the usage of complemento di tempo continuato. Adverbs can also introduce complemento di tempo continuato, like the following: sempre, always, forever, a lungo, long, fino a ora, until now, per tutto il tempo, all the time. Io ti ho sempre amato, I always loved you. Voi aspettaste a lungo, you waited a long time. Noi abbiamo studiato italiano fino a ora. We studied Italian until now. Tu rimani per tutto il tempo che ti serve. You stay for all the time you need. Complemento di tempo continuato can be present also without prepositions. When we deal with hours, weekdays, weeks, months, and years. Also, preposition per can be used. John studiò per 2 ore. John studied for 2 hours, but you can omit that preposition because many times superfluous. Io sono in vacanza 5 giorni, or io sono in vacanza per 5 giorni. I'm on vacations 5 days, or I'm in vacations for 5 days. Again, preposition can often be omitted. Anne visse in Italia 6 anni. Anne lived in Italy 6 years. Or for 6 years. Per 6 anni. It is almost the same. Ladies and gentlemen, class is dismissed. Remember to hit the like button if you liked this very lesson, to subscribe to be updated to my new releases about Italian language, culture, grammar. But most importantly, remember, speak like a genius. Bye bye.